Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Ali Abbas, and at the moment I am in London. And I met a very intellectual lady and journalist 2 3 days before, Julia Becknell. She is a former journalist in BBC, worked for many years, and my interest was she was also working in Pakistan on the. She want to make some interfaith harmony, this freedom, religious freedom issues. She is working on that, and I'm very glad to meet her. And I requested her that I would like to interview. So, hello, Julia. Thank you very much.
Nice to meet you.
And it is a pleasure meeting you. And I am happy that you have worked in Pakistan at the era of Benazir.
Yes, that's right.
And you have a privilege to interview her.
I did. I waited for about 8 hours at her family home in Lakhana.
Okay.
And finally she had time and we talked about actually women and reproductive health.
Okay.
And whether, because she was the first woman prime minister in Pakistan, had she made any difference to the lives of ordinary women. And to do the background research for that, I traveled throughout the whole country. And from Karachi up to the Chinese border, Khunjera Pass,
okay.
Yeah, and up to Peshawar and across to the east, right to the Indian border as well. So I was looking at the lives of Pakistani women in all the villages and how they're treated by the clinics. Often the clinics, at that time, it was back in the 90s, you know, many times the clinics would be closed or they wouldn't have the right medication for the women and that kind of thing, and the conditions that they would give birth in. And was Benazir going to make a difference in their lives?
So what was your finding? Did she succeed?
I don't think it made a lot of difference,
Little bit,
yeah. And I think since that time, I remember I did my homework, and I believe that at that time they thought that Pakistan, they were going to, or it was going to become the fourth most populous country in the world.
Yes.
And the authorities were really trying to think about how they could improve the situation so that women would not keep giving birth every year as a kind of an insurance policy for their old age, which is what it is. If you know that, one or two of your children maybe will die before they're 5, you will have more children, just in case, because it's a sort of an old age insurance policy, isn't it? It's like a pension.
So Julia, how did you find Pakistani culture, people, and overall, how was your experience, and how long you stay over there?
I would say I fell in love with Pakistan.
Oh, really?
As a country. It's a beautiful country, as you know. The Himalayas, there's so many different parts of the country that are very different to each other. So I saw the desert, and I enjoyed the desert right down in the south, but I also enjoyed the mountains and valleys, up in the north. And I found the people were very hospitable, and I didn't feel afraid. I traveled alone. I traveled on local buses with local people.
Yes.
I didn't drive myself or have a driver. Didn't have any money at the beginning.
Oh, really?
When I was first doing my research. And because I liked the country, I decided I wanted to come back and work there because I thought I wanted to get to know it better as well. So I came back, and altogether I probably spent well over a year living in Pakistan. But it was the year roughly between the end of... So I first visited in the spring of 1991.
Okay.
And then I came back the following year, and I lived there from 92 to 93.
Okay. So you were working on the people who were living in there who were Christians?
No, I was reporting on anything because I was, while I did the research about reproductive health, I was actually on a scholarship. But the only way I could apply for that scholarship was because I was already a broadcast journalist working in the UK, and my job was full-time at the BBC. So because I liked the country, I came back to the BBC and I said, would you let me go to work as a reporter for more time? And they did an arrangement with me for 1 year. They said, you can go and you can be more like a freelance reporter. So that's what I was doing. And I also, at that time, because it was before digital, you know, the digital revolution, the BBC allowed me to also be the Telegraph, the Pakistan correspondent for the Daily Telegraph here in the UK. Because in those days, television and radio were one thing, and the Daily Telegraph was a printed newspaper every day here in the UK. So they weren't rivals, you know, that they weren't online. The BBC wasn't online, neither was the Telegraph. So they saw themselves as different. And so I was allowed to work for both of them at the same time.
Let me give you a big compliment. I find you a very active, very energetic person who are here in London. At this age also, that you left BBC and your job since from last 20 years.
Yeah, I left the BBC 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
And you are more than 10 years ago, 2012.
You are always busy and going to the conferences, delivering the lectures, attending the lectures. I like your lifestyle very good, because at this age when people become retired from the life, they sit at home and after 2-3 years, they become very sick. Anyhow, what are your plans nowadays? On which lines you're working on to create harmony and this free religious issue? What are right now you're working on it?
So because I lived and worked in Pakistan, I take a particular interest still in Pakistan, and that's why you and I met. We met at the Pakistan High Commission.
Yes.
But I also spent a lot of time working in some African countries. And so I spent time in Nigeria and in Egypt and other countries, Sudan as well. So I focus on now, since I left the BBC, I focus, as you said, on religious minorities, particularly, and how they are treated in the country where they're a minority. Now, in Pakistan, the minorities, as you will know, are Christians and also Hindus and some Sikhs as well. Exactly. And so I focus on the issues that affect them. And the two.
What are your findings?
Well, I was really shocked a few years ago when I was working with a Pakistani journalist who is from the Christian community. And he came to me and he said, Julia, did you know that Christians in Pakistan are roughly about maybe maximum 2-3%
less than 5%
of the population? But what percentage of the workers in the sanitation sector, the sewerage, the cleaning, are from this tiny minority Christian community? And I said, I don't know. And I said, bring me the data. So he went to the waste management corporations and companies. He came back with the data, and it was 85% of the people working in that sector are from the minority Christian community, of 2%, say. And I was really shocked by that. And not only that, but they also the conditions that they work in are really discriminatory. They don't have health and safety protection. They don't have the right equipment. They're sent down, particularly when these sewers or pipes are clogged or blocked.
By the way, Muslims also, they don't have health and safety measurements in Pakistan.
Absolutely, I agree. But the point is that this is really dangerous work, and it's life-threatening. And so many times they die of poisonous gases. They inhale the gases.
You're right.
And there is now equipment that they could be provided that would mean it wasn't life or death for them to go down the sewer. And so I started working with other people in Pakistan to raise awareness of this issue, and also to bring improvements in the sector. And also in Punjab now, the Punjab government changed the law, I think in 2016, and said it's now discriminating to advertise a post in that sector that says only non-Muslims need apply. So
this is a big achievement, I guess.
Well, as you will know, and it's the same in the UK. Sometimes you can have a law that is changed, but the practice,
the implementation is not there.
Doesn't keep up with it. Exactly. So,
but the law is important. When there is a law, sometimes the implementation can be happened.
Exactly.
But if there is no law,
then I agree. Yeah.
You get my point?
You need the law first.
Yes.
You need the law changed.
Yes.
But then you need other people.
Then there is awareness campaigns. Then there is a branding on the concepts and philosophies. Then people realize, and then they become accepted as things.
Yeah, and it's a mindset change as well. If we always assume that those people did those jobs, then you have to have a real change of mindset.
And who is working over there on these issues there in Pakistan?
So,
you were talking about the MPA.
Yeah, so there is a woman who used to be a member of the Punjab Assembly. She's no longer a member.
Okay.
But she was before.
In the previous government?
Maybe even one or two before. I'm not sure exactly.
Okay.
But at the time when she was in the Assembly, she did a lot. And her name is Mary Gill.
Mary Gill.
Yeah. And
she's Lahore based.
She's based in Lahore, yes. And she now runs something called the Centre for Law and Justice.
Law and Justice, okay.
Yeah, so that's someone that I'm connected with and working from here in London, but supporting her work and everything. The other issue that I feel really strongly about is how the women from these minority faiths, and not only Christians, but also some Hindus, some Sikhs, are so often
forced marriages.
The word is forced marriage, but I think there needs to be a change of mindset too for Pakistanis. Because when you use the words forced marriage, the implication is that it is force means violence. You know, that you use violence to me or I use violence to you. This is a bit unhelpful in the Pakistani concept, because in many other countries around the world, they would actually, it's not really even, the man doesn't use force. He actually uses a term that we now use a lot in the West, and it's called grooming.
Grooming.
The man, typically the man, grooms a young woman from from the minority community. What that means is he kind of woos her, he kind of draws her in. He's not violent, he doesn't use aggression, he doesn't hit her, but he just kind of uses, oh, come with me, you know, I want you. Yeah, exactly, that kind of thing. And so the woman, particularly from the minority, she's maybe not so well educated, she maybe doesn't understand what's happening. She gets sort of drawn in. She gets kind of hooked in. And then
maybe they have love.
It can be. Yes. It can be a love marriage. But often you see the man is significantly older than the young woman, like 20 years older. Yeah. And often he's already married. He's already has one or maybe even more than one wife.
But this happens in Muslims also. There are the difference is 20 years of the husband and wife. So
but what happens in this case is the young woman is then required to convert to Islam. And as soon as she becomes a Muslim, of course, she then comes under Muslim practices, Muslim law, Muslim traditions. And so her, say, Christian parents, they can't appeal to her anymore, or they can't have the rights to have their child back, because the new husband, the new authorities say, well, she's become a Muslim now. Now, did she really have totally free will
Maybe in some cases they have the free will.
Sometimes I agree with you, but a lot of the time, I think I would argue quite strongly that she doesn't have free will, because the man is really in control. He's controlling her.
Yeah, because maybe he have authority and he is rich. Yeah. Maybe the girl, she is inspired from the man. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much for now these two things you're telling about, that you are working on the marriages, free marriages, you can say, and on the community of Christianity who are working this sanitary work, and you wish that they should have some good government jobs and they should also work for the corporate sector and in the organizations in Pakistan. Just last questions. When you are again planning back to Pakistan?
Oh, I don't have a fixed plan, unfortunately. I don't know. I'd very much like to go back, but at the moment I don't have a particular plan. Yeah. Okay. But I can, these days with digital media and WhatsApp and, we can communicate so much better. So it's not always necessary to go there as long as you're working with people. you can achieve things over the internet and interviews and that kind of thing.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
I
Great
hope
to meet you.
Enjoy the conversation.
I did.
And this conversation will help our people